Okay, this is the third take. Thank you, Kelly. Once
No
again,
problem.
you're my hero. JC,
Yes, sir.
what should we do for introductions now? This is
Well,
JC Rositas.
Go to the beginning again.
Okay, and he owns Crimson Knight Productions,
Correct.
and he's been doing a lot of documentary film work. He is responsible. He is the man that came up with When the Walls Talk. And there's a DVD on it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's the DVD.
That's the old
And-
DVD. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good one. And Kelly says you are live, all good.
Okay.
So we're live.
Hey, people, we're live.
Okay. I apologize for that, JC. It's like they've changed the screen on me 3 different times, and every time they do it, they move a part around, and I'm not that good at going ahead and finding parts when they move them around.
Technology. What are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah, so that's where it's at. It's been a constant struggle. I know that my spirit guides are helping me along, even though I get stuck in these things. There's a reason for it somewhere. So, but anyway, let's get back to what we're supposed to be talking about, and that's you and what you do and where you've been. And why don't you start out and tell people where you came from and the whole kit and caboodle.
Sure. Okay. So long ago, the earth cooled, and then there were dinosaurs. And no, I'm kidding. Let's not go that far back. So thank you first and foremost, Greg, for the time to actually talk to you. This is it's been a while since I've been on any podcast shows of this nature. I used to have a show called Shadows on the Wall that has since kind of it's been, I don't want to say laid to rest, but we're just not actively participating in that at this time. But again, it is good to be here. So thank you. And hello, everybody. My name is JC Rositas. I am the co-founder of a group in Northwest Indiana called Heartland Hauntings. I founded that group with my partner, Len Miller. Even though it's kind of based out of Northwest Indiana, Len now lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana, 150 miles away from me. So we get together when we can, and just we try to do things. We haven't done things really a whole lot over the last year or two, but we do what we can when we can. Heartland Hauntings does have a Facebook page that you can follow along with. We try to break out of the mold, so to speak, of being a quote unquote a group or a team. We want to be more of like a concept base of an organization, because we believe very strongly in working with others as closely as possible and employing different methodologies to the process of investigating the paranormal. So there are things that you might see on our page that you're looking at this going, wow, this is really weird. Why are they putting this link here to this or to that? And there are things that I might come across on the internet that I think that might be beneficial, that might help explain things, or you can use in your methodologies of paranormal investigating, evaluating evidence, those types of things, such as like, things of like physics of the eye and how it responds to light and those things like that. I think that those are very important, at least base knowledge pieces to have that people can use during investigations. You mentioned about the DVD, Greg, with When the Walls Talk. And yeah, you do have the original copy. I didn't want to say old copy. That just sounds bad. But and I say that because the documentary, since the time that we put it out, we put it under self-distribution. That's the copy you have when we were self-distributing. We can't technically and legally sell those copies anymore because we're under a distribution group who handles that now. So you got lucky, man. You got a copy. It was signed by me. It was signed by Keith Age, who was also in the documentary. I think you're good to go on that one. So, but that documentary was it was really my first production. It was my first major production of anything, and it was because I wanted to focus on a place that was near and dear to my heart, Mitchell, Indiana, which is in the city just about 85 miles south of Indianapolis. Whispers Estate. It's a fabulous place, and I've been privileged to be able to investigate and visit there. At this point in my life right now, I'd say I've been there over 40 times, and it's it's been one of those places where I just like any other place. You go there, you might have some nights it's nice and quiet, or you might have some nights where things are just rocking and rolling. And I've been able to experience a little bit of both. And it's a place that's never really let me down. And it's a place that when I go there, if there's anything, it always captures at least my heart, because it's a beautiful home. It's got a very good history to it. And I know that other investigators have been there, and I know some have kind of poo-pooed on the whole thing. I'm aware that there are people out there who feel they can debunk the whole thing, and you know, God bless them. But all I can say is that there are others, including myself and my team, who have had experiences there, and we felt that it was just a place that deserved its own documentary. It has been featured in shows and in other things too, like the Booth Brothers, Children from the Grave. They had a brief mentioning of it in there, but we really wanted to give it something that would give it its own story, its own shine. So that's why we put that out there, and we're looking forward to doing more down here on the road.
Well, the first time that I really ran into you was at the Rhodes,
Rhodes Hotel, yeah, in
at the
Atlanta,
Rhodes
Indiana.
Hotel, and we were or you guys were filming for Keith Age and Robbie Thomas for some show that they had. They were trying to get going, and
Right.
there were like 4 or 5 episodes of that show, and we happened to be at the one. Me and Chuck Williams were at the Rhodes that night that you guys were doing that, and we got put in on that film end of it, which was crazy, but it was good to see you guys working. And I know I've been around you quite a bit with Chuck Williams Productions, where you've been filming or working with him with the cameras, and all that work you've been doing. You know, okay, actually, it goes back to Bachelor's Grove.
Yeah, that's when he did 1,000 words.
So
Chuck
that's
Williams,
that was the first real time. I had no idea who you were, and we said hi, and that was it. And I went off to go ahead and try to get spooked, but
Yeah. Most days I don't even know who I am anymore, really. So it's fair to say that. But yeah, you're right. That was our actual first meeting, was at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, Midlothian, Illinois. Fantastic place.
yes,
And actually, I really tip my hat to Chuck on that one, because getting a permit to be there during the night, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd rather have brain surgery, but it's near impossible to get. And he really stuck to his guns on this one. He got that, and just to have been a part of that for the filming of being in one of the most haunted cemeteries in the world that late at night with permission. Hint, hint, there, folks. Don't go there at night.
yeah, don't
But
go there.
we see people who tried sneaking in. They got arrested, but we were there with permission, and it was great. Just being able to be there at night. You know, I there's no words to really describe, you know, what that feeling was.
Have you been back there recently?
Recently, no. I did go back a couple times since the filming there, but I have not been back there, especially this year with COVID. I have not been back there. I'd say about a year or two.
Yeah, that's one thing that, you know, when I think about that place, it was always, hey, I'll be back there in 3 weeks, because it's like 50 minutes away, and
Yeah.
it never happens.
Well, I hear you. I hear you, man.
A lot of other locations around, and you know, since I got involved, besides GRS, I'm involved with Shadow Hunters, which is a group up in Northern Illinois, in Lakeville, Illinois, and we do a lot of stuff locally, and we haven't been quite active. We've been doing we just started up ghost tours, Lake County, and
Okay.
that's going on for the next 3 weekends. They already did the first one, so
Tis
that's
the
going to be
season.
going on. But you know, it would be great, you know, if we had a location up by us that we could all get together And that's why I had mentioned to you about the roads, because it would be like getting the band back together again if you could make it. And, and you got Chuck and you got the guys, Mike Wright and, a few other people from GRS and then the Shadowhunters people too. That would be really great to do. But, everybody's, like you said, everybody's committed to this great month of October. And, you got to be careful with, packing it up too much.
Sure. And that, Rhodes Hotel is really one of my favorite places that I've been privileged to be able to investigate before anybody even knew about it. There was only a very small handful of people that knew about it when I was told about it about 10 years ago. And I was invited by a good friend of mine, Alan Jinkerson, who he no longer lives in Northwest Indiana. He moved to Ohio since it's been about 5, maybe 8 years now. But he said, "Hey, I got this investigation of this place called Rose Hotel. Do you want to go check it out?" And I had never heard of it. And I said, "Yeah, no, I'll go." And he said, "Well, it's in Atlanta, Indiana." And I thought, we have a city named Atlanta in Indiana? So I had no idea, because really, when you get down to Atlanta, Indiana, and you get down to the crossroads in the main downtown, you look down one street and then you turn and look down the other, you pretty much cover the span of the whole town. It's that small. But when we got there, we were greeted by a very large 2-story facility that could easily pass as someone's house or maybe a set of small apartments, that kind of thing. But there was no electricity in the building when I went there, except for the kitchen. That was the only part that had electricity at the time that I first visited. And we had really strange things that were happening that night at that hotel, including actually watching a door open and close all on its own, hearing footsteps running across the second floor when nobody was up there, having the feeling of like someone placing their hands on you, on your shoulder, or maybe scratching your back a little bit here and there, just kind of messing around with you. It's a place that I think is just fantastic, and it's got its own history too. But it is a very small town. I mean, if you blink, you missed it.
That's for sure. I enjoy it immensely, and out of all of them, you would go ahead and figure that there would have to be the ones that you really like, and we've been fortunate enough to already been out this year. So with GRS, so
Yeah.
we were at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and then we went to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. So in that respect, I'm fine with the year, considering what's been going on with everybody and how even Ursula's shut down the Paracon she was having up in Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
that's done.
Oh, is that not happening now?
That's not happening.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know.
Yeah, that just broke this last week.
Oh my gosh, well, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ursula Bielski is a great person and a good friend, and I try to make her events every year, but this year was a little difficult to even just make the trip from Indiana out to Wisconsin. But yeah, I think just in the light of what we're experiencing with this pandemic, it's kind of changed some things. So um, hopefully we'll get some things going here again soon, and that's actually one thing that I'm doing from the Crimson Night Productions side is I'm going to start putting together some mini documentaries, very, very short ones about some of the haunted locations within Northwest Indiana. So once we get those up, it'll be up on our website page, which is cnproductions.net. It's almost like, gosh, I got to do something, so what better way to do it than to marry, my love for doing films and movies and documentaries into doing things with the paranormal.
Now you had a teaser or a short that you did for this haunted show that's put on in Chicago, right?
Oh yeah. The Chicago Horror Film Festival. Yes. Yeah. We have a short that is called Heinous Sound that's playing there right now. Chicago Horror Film Festival is going on. It started on September 25th and it's going on through October 9th, next Friday. But it was one of those things that was made because there was a film competition I was going to do last year that was based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Um, and we kind of missed the deadline on that. And it was nobody's fault. It was just one of those things going through post-production and putting the thing together, and we just didn't make it happen. But we were fine with that, because what we really wanted to do from that point was, okay, let's focus then on the production value of this and put it out there and try to make it look as good as possible and sound as good as possible. Um, and when we got that done, I put it out on YouTube. It seemed like it was getting some eyes on it, and people were like, wow, that was really good. And I really, really have to tip my hat to my good friend Andy Collins, who wrote Heinous Sound. Um, so when he wrote it, we made it and we put it out there. It seemed like people were enjoying it, but then my distributor found out about it, and they took a look at it, and they said, we do pretty well with shorts. Take that off of YouTube, please. Take it off of your webpage. Give it to us. Let's distribute that, because they really loved it. So we don't have it available in circulation right now, other than what is available today. We do have contractual rights to do a theatrical thing with whatever we're doing. So when it came to Heinous Sound, this was a good thing to go ahead and put into the Chicago Horror Film Festival. And I'm very grateful to my friend Willie Atkins for allowing us to do that, as well as the whole Chicago Horror Film Festival team and judges for letting us bring that in. So hopefully, it's doing well. It's all available online. So if you get your ticket online, you can watch all the movies that are there. And I've seen quite a few of other movies, and there are some really great films there. But Heinous Sound is one that when we did that, it's just a 15-minute short about. It's kind of like, okay, what happens if you get somebody who comes in and he's doing a serial podcast show, and he gets a visit from a serial killer in his own home, and he doesn't know it right away. How would that react, and or how would that be? And so there's a good spin on the story. If one was able to watch that, that I'm not going to give it away, but it was very intelligently written by Andy.
Yeah, Andy was one of the other guys that was with us too for Chuck's about the circus train too.
Yes.
Andy was there, Jim was there, and who am I missing?
We also had, we had Andy, we had Jim, we had Frank Sisson, who was part of our team.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of who else was there. And I certainly don't want to do any discredit to anybody, because obviously everyone put in the hours and they put in some great work, especially with Jim coming in from Arizona to help film. But yeah, Chuck put together that thing really well. He had a pretty good crew going into that.
That was really, really interesting. I know out of all the stuff that goes on, with the situation once again with COVID and that you go from state to state and you see all these different things happening and people, and that was the point that I was trying to make in the beginning was, even Wisconsin, with it being open, all of a sudden it shut down, and next thing you know, nothing's happening. But when you were talking earlier about, and we brought up the point of the remote viewing, and all that business that deals with quantum physics, and it crosses that whole spectrum of outer communication, or whatever you want to do, you want to talk about. But portals, one of the first portals that I could think of would be Whispers. That was supposed to be in the living room, right?
It's weird. What they've claimed for the portal is that it actually starts almost like down the street, comes in up through the house. It goes up through the living room, but it ends up on the third floor attic area that has been converted into a bedroom. And that's where it seems like a lot of really weird activity that comes and goes throughout there. And I guess from the claims that they've had is that when the previous owner, Van Rainier, when he had the home, he brought in two psychics on two different occasions, and they had both kind of driven to that same conclusion that that's what was going on there. So, is there proof of that? I mean, I haven't seen any pictures of it or anything like that, but what I can attest to is that strange things do happen up in that room. Strange things happen throughout that house. I will say that. But my share of strange events that have happened up in that attic area, um, either it's happened, either I've had the direct experience or I've witnessed somebody else having that experience. And it's almost like it gives you that sense of a silent and self-contained validation of like, okay, this stuff is real, it is happening. um can't really prove that per se, but it's there, and it's happening. And people, whether you're witnessing small shadows running around in the room, which has been some of the claims. Other claims have been feelings of being touched, physically pushed. One of our guys actually got punched in the center of his chest when we were there. But one of the biggest claims is, and I really haven't been down to the house in a couple of years, and it is under new ownership with Rich Ballard. But one of the people who I know at the time was working there, Gwen Ziegler, before she came on as a staff person there at the house as a caretaker. She was there as an investigator, and she had a really weird experience when she was just lying down on the bed in that room. And she felt like, she said she was laying there, all of a sudden it felt like something just grabbed her, started pulling her down into a pit, and she was fighting against that. And she said whatever it is that was happening was just, she knew it was not good. um, but when she finally was able to kind of snap out of that and get out of that, there was a large amount of time that when she looked at her cell phone, that it actually passed. And she had actually missed a couple of phone calls from a friend of hers. She had never heard her cell phone going off. So, I don't know, what it is exactly she experienced. It wasn't mine to really talk about, but she did give a full statement that is shared like in a glass casing document in that room. Because it just sounds so frightful what she had gone through, as far as having to feel like you're being pulled down to what I guess she can best describe as the pits of hell.
That's pretty crazy. I
It is.
know the what I was going to mention was on the when we were down in Indianapolis and we were at the Hannah House.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
And we were inside that building. There was a lot of that strange business going on in there too. Feelings and movement, and we did a private investigation in there right before he shut it down, and supposedly he was going to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like 5 of us in there, and not a real lot was happening in there that night. But I can remember a couple days we were going through when they were doing the tours in there, that it was just alive.
Yeah.
And just amazing that things like that go on, and people, they just shut the buildings down.
I don't know what's happening sometimes. I think there's probably just such a mix of things that are happening that um that may cause somebody to maybe cease investigation somewhere, or maybe even start up a place. But it does seem like that in the 12, 13 years that I've been involved now in doing paranormal investigations, there's been a waxing and waning of locations as far as like who's available and who's not anymore. One of my favorite places that I used to go to in Northwest Indiana is right in the next town away from me, in Munster, Indiana. The old Caskey House, which is also called the Beaker House. It's on the National Historic Register Places, but it was never anything malevolent there, and I want to make sure to point that out. And I'm not gonna start pointing fingers or saying who, what, where, when, or why, or anything like that. But I was interviewed along with my partner Len Miller on a recent TV show. I won't name the show here, but they had asked for some of our investigating experiences, and this place came up, the Caskey House in Munster, and we've had nothing but pleasant experiences there. Nothing frightening whatsoever. But that doesn't sell as far as production value. So when they got the interviews from us on that, it was kind of twisted and turned around quite a bit to make it seem like it was a very scary place, but it's not. But that place has since shut its doors. I mean, it actually shut its doors quite a while ago, and they just won't allow people to go back in there. But I was right at the teetering at the end of that. I was one of the very few privileged of who actually got in there almost when they got ready to close their doors. And fabulous place. I don't know why some places do it. I don't know if it's just the overabundance of people who are doing investigations now, and I'm not saying that negatively, but or maybe they just don't want to have that connotation carried with their place anymore. Versus places that that start having experiences. They want to bring teams in. They want to bring investigators in to take a look and either validate what their experiences are that they're having, or what. But it's been a kind of an ebb and flow. It seems like with a lot of places.
Okay, on that ebb and flow, when you go ahead and you think about it, and you know that you have a lot of people coming through a location, do you think that they can bring things in with them that would change the whole atmosphere of the whole entire building?
I think that just on my personal view of it, yes, I do believe that, if you have something that's coming and going, or even maybe like multitude of entities, let's just kind of say it that way, that could do that. It's almost like if you think of it as a department store. You have people that are coming and going all the time, and you get some people that are coming in, they're great customers, and it becomes a very pleasant place to be at. Sometimes you might get somebody who might come in and they're kind of rude, and they just don't make it very comfortable to be there. So I think that's I think it's very plausible to think of it along those lines of what the experiences are that could happen as far as can things change, from one day to the next in the certain environments of the house, and or the location, wherever it is that you're at. But yes, the long answer is that I do believe
it. We have some people that are said hi. Alma Felix, Jessica Moritz. Let's see who else. We got Dale, probably Dale Kazmarek, and John Stevens. John Stevens is saying hi, so he's an interesting gentleman. Did a lot of good paranormal work around the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
That's for sure. Have you done anything out west at all?
West, no, sadly, no. I haven't, as far as I'm in Northwest Indiana, so the furthest west that I've gone is probably in Cook County.
Wow.
So that's probably, as far west as I've ever been. I've got a target list of places that I would like to get to out west. Starting even in Iowa with the Villisca Axe Murder House is one place that I would love to get out to visit. And do an investigation there, but even take that a little further. I would love to get out to Colorado and visit the Stanley Hotel. I would love to go visit Jerome, Arizona, and pick almost any place out there that you want. Tombstone, Arizona, as well. There's a lot of different places I would love to get out to out west. I've had the privilege to be able to go. Mainly, a lot of places where I've been to has been more of the Midwestern area. Obviously, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Kentucky. Just kind of like right around just that small belt. I did get the chance at one point, and this goes back about 8 or 9 years ago, to go and give a visit down in Eureka Springs, Arkansas,
Wow.
to the Crescent Hotel down there. Fabulous place, and you can just feel the history just kind of pouring out of the walls there. But I've been privileged to be able to go visit that location, as well as in West Virginia. I got to go visit the Trans-Allegheny Asylum. So and I did an overnight there, which that place is just too massive to do in one night. I mean, you need at least 3 or 4 good nights to be able to cover that place as well as possible. It is a monster of a place. It is just so sizable.
So what about places in Ohio?
So a few years ago, a place fell into my lap just by kind of like a virtual tap on the shoulder through Facebook. Gill House out in Galion, Ohio. They were just allowing people to come and investigate, and this goes back about 6 years ago. And I was really glad that they tapped me on the shoulder through Facebook on that, and I went out and I checked them out. We didn't have actual, like, right there in your face experiences of things. Nothing that was ever frightening or anything that seemed malevolent, but man, did we capture some really weird stuff. I I mean, it was, we went in April of 2014, and inside the house, and now this is April, okay, we're talking about in the Midwest. Greg, you know just as well as I do that you can't count on the weather always being nice when it goes season to season. But
No.
and it was just like that over in Ohio at the time, and it was nice, very cool, almost dank kind of day, very overcast when we got there. So it was cooler in the house, and they did not have heat on throughout the entire house. So it was, when we were on the second floor, it was maybe like all of like 50 degrees on that floor. One of our investigators was standing down at the one end of the hall, and he said, "I feel like something is standing behind me." And we actually have a little thermal imaging camera that we actually caught. It looked like two very hot footprints on carpeting standing right behind him. Now he's wearing rubber-soled shoes, and rubber doesn't transfer heat very well, you know. And we were able to actually capture that, prove that as well as part of our investigation, because he stood in one spot for a while, and I had him move, and his footprints were not showing as prominently on the camera. They were there, but very faint. But these were very hot, and we couldn't figure out just what the heck was happening. And then it just, as quickly as it was gone. But then a little while later, I took a picture of him. I was standing down at the end of the hallway, and he was like in the foreground, but then behind him was this thing. I don't even know what the best to describe it is. It was about the height of a person, very scraggly hair, was not a plant. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't a piece of furniture. It was just standing in this doorway of where they have like a second floor kitchen area. And it was just a really weird, thing that we found. But later that night, Chuck Williams was actually on that investigation with me. We all had hunkered down to go to bed for that night. Well, Chuck went upstairs and set up a camera and let it run for about a half an hour on just in this foyer, this very beautiful home, but it was like a big foyer on the second floor. And where he had the camera pointing was towards all these bedrooms. And about a half hour later, you hear a light switch go on, and a light just turns on in the room all by itself. And it was just a great piece of evidence, and it just, for me, it gave that validation of, okay, something's happening here at this home. We need to get back as soon as we can. And we did go back, but we unfortunately had to cut it early due to an unfortunate incident with one of our people there who was actually hosting us, had to go to the hospital. It was, yeah, so we had to leave early. We haven't been back since, but we are making a plan to get back there as soon as possible.
They weren't affected by anything from the house, were they?
No, it was nothing by the house. It was just,
Oh,
it was a personal health issue they were having. But during the filming you had mentioned earlier that I was doing with Keith Age and Robbie Thomas, I was able to visit a couple different locations. And I wasn't actually doing the investigating. I was just there for filming, but just being a part of it was very spectacular. But one place was the old Twin Cities Opera House in McMinnville, Ohio, which is a very small town. But I guess, in fact, Jack Osborne had his own show recently that he actually went there and he investigated that place.
Right.
And it was like, oh, that's so cool. We were there, but that, again, I was just there for filming, but we just had experiences there that were just out of this world. I mean, it was just kind of one of those things where you're in the auditorium and you're knocking on things and you're getting whatever it was that was there knocking back at you, and we couldn't trace it down to figure out who it was. We had, of course, quite a few people who were there who also had experiences there, but it's got quite a history there as well. The other place I think a lot of other people are familiar with is the Bel Air House out in Ohio. We were able to go out and investigate there as well. So it's been quite a journey. It really has been, as far as doing the investigations in this, and it's I know there's more to come. I know that things will be happening, and once we get rid of this COVID thing, or at least get it tempered down enough, we're going to be going back out, and we're going to be hitting this a little differently. We want to take a more of a methodical, almost a bigger scientific approach, because we try to approach things as scientifically as possible. And I know that there's people who say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about with that, with scientific," and well, kind of, yeah, we do. But it does involve, a lot of a study of a lot of different things, and just try to understand, what it is, that experiences that are happening, whether it's to myself or to somebody on my group, or whatever the claims are. And I think that when it comes down to it, is that we try to do justice to the field by trying to explain things. But it's just those things that you can't explain, no matter how small it might be, that really kind of give it that oomph, of what you need to say, yeah, this is what it's all about.
It's like describing air.
Yeah, it's there.
AIR. How do you, there's no way to describe it.
Yeah, it's there. We need it. We breathe. But
Did you go to St. Did you film at St. Albans?
I did. Yes, that was part of the project that I did with Robbie Thomas and with Keith Age. Yes.
What did you think of that place?
um, I didn't get to traverse throughout the entire place. I did get to walk through there before the investigation happened that evening, with because they sold group tickets. So there were people who were there for the event, but I didn't actually get to participate in the investigation itself. I was mostly in the command center of St. Albans, but I will say this. Um, when I was in the command center, I was there with my very good friend Sean Saunders, a friend of mine from Louisville, Kentucky, who was part of helping out with the production. And he's admitted it many times that he does not investigate the paranormal because it scares the crap out of him, and he will not do it. So, and I understand that, this isn't for everybody, and that's cool. But it was a stormy night, believe it or not. It was in November. It was a week before Thanksgiving back in 2017. And it was a very stormy night there. Very cool wind coming through. We had the back side door propped open to the command center because that was the only way to get in and out. Very heavy rain barrel or some kind of barrel, I don't know what it was, but that was there holding the door open so we can get in and out. And I had left to go out to the front by the gift shop area, and I left this guy Sean by himself in the command center, and the strong wind came through, and somehow this rain barrel. Now, this strong wind did come through, and I can't say it was the wind that moved it because this thing was heavy. So I don't know what happened, but it moved it away from the door. This barrel away from the door. That door slammed shut, and very calmly, very patiently, Sean got on the walkie-talkie, and he said, "Can somebody please come to the command center because this barrel was just moved. I don't know how, and it slammed the door shut, and I can't get out." So a group of us went running over there, got the door open, and we got out. Now, Sean did that politely on the radio walkie-talkie. But when we walked in the room, he said, "Get me out of here. Screw this. Screw you. Screw you. I'm not doing this." And it frightened him pretty badly. But I made a promise that I would not leave him in there alone anymore. So I did stay in there with him for the rest of the night. But I did get the chance to kind of break away, grab a camera, and I went walking around in some of the area, a little bit of it here and there, just immediately downstairs from where I had the command center. But it's, man, I mean, talk about a very overly spooky place. I mean, I know it's got its history, it's got its stories, but you just get that vibe walking in there like, oh man, there is something not right here.
Yeah, that whole main staircase that went up.
I didn't see that.
I was up. There was like 4 or 5 stairs. It went to a platform, and then went back up this way. And Dale had all these motion detectors on there, and I had set up my film camera, and everything's brand new. Batteries are fully charged and everything. And I start filming, and I watched the indicator go as far as the seconds were concerned. It was clicking away on the time. Everything was moving, and I left. Came back later on. Dale goes, "Motion detectors all went off. You probably captured something." And I went back, and the camera was turned off when I left.
Oh wow! So it didn't like run out of battery; it was just off.
The battery was gone. It was off completely.
Yeah, that's
That's the kind of thing, and that's happened numerous locations this year. We were at the Peoria at the hospital, and we were there in June.
Okay.
I can't Pollock at Pollock Hospital.
Okay.
And the same thing happened in there. The
Really?
last location that we were at in town here, we did a public investigation where people joined us,
Mhm.
and they got to learn how to use equipment and get to actually investigate an active building. And I wasn't there 10 minutes, and I lost 3 pieces of equipment that the batteries were totally dead on.
Wow. Yeah, it's almost like a rush, really, when those things happen when you do these types of investigations, and you can go in there with the mindset of I've got this under control, I got that, and you know what your routine is, especially if you do these things, at home or wherever it is before going into investigation of, your equipment. I'll even pick on a cell phone, because the one thing that I've had as a notorious, um, almost aggravating piece of something that I can never explain is the cell phone. And it's one of those things where your cell phone in and out, how to turn on to airplane mode, how to silence it, how to do all this stuff. And I'll pick on Whispers Estate because it is one of my favorite locations. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into that house knowing I've turned my cell phone off, or if I have to set it to silent, just kind of tuck it way back in the corner somewhere. Because with my job, I'm on call 24/7, 365. So there are those times I have to have it on, but I'll do all that, and then I'll go somewhere else and investigate, or I'll just be sitting in the room or whatever, and all of a sudden, this phone goes off like I didn't do anything to silence it. Like it just came on silenced all by itself, and it's frustrating because like I turned this off, man. What's going on? I know I did, but it's at the same time it's cool. It's cool to have that happen because um, when you have those things again, even if it's a personal experience, if you cannot explain it, it's even if it's unto yourself, it gives you that validation that you're on the right path. You're checking the stuff out, and yeah, this is you need to be here right now.
You want to, and they're sitting over there in the corner, and they're going, "You want to go ahead and get these guys all screwed up, yelling at each other? Take his
Yeah,
phone."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, quick, order a pizza. But no, it's been fun. It really, really has. And to be honest, I mean, I got involved with paranormal investigations because I've it's one of those things where it's been kind of talked about, my family as I was growing up, and I guess I've always believed, but as I got older, you tend to sometimes try to set it in your mind that this is why this happened, this is why that happened. You self-explain it, and I moved on, and I went on to a career that was based in just immersed in science. And so you think you have all the answers. And it was just one night back in about 2007, 2008, right around in there. Um, in the house I live in now is the same house I lived in at the time. But I saw, for whatever reason, it was like 3 or 3:30 in the morning, a very large, very dark shadow standing by the side of my bed. And it was just a very weird thing because at the time, when it was just me and my dogs that were living here at the house, all 4 of them had passed on, rest their souls. But at the time, I had 3 little miniature pinchers and I had a king size bed. They were all laying in the bed with me. It started stirring around, hiding under the blankets and doing all this stuff. And it woke me up. And I thought, okay, well, I'll help them out under. And then from behind me, as I was sleeping on my side towards the edge of the bed, I felt something just push down on the bed. And I also had a very large, she wasn't too large, but she was pretty sizable, black lab. And when I turned and I looked over my shoulder, I just saw this shadow there. And I slept with all the lights off in the house. There was not a spot of light coming through anywhere except the moonlight, maybe coming through the shades. And when I saw the shadow, I thought it was my dog. And I said, you know what, if you want to come up here and lay down with this girl, it's fine, because, the others are doing it. And I put my arm out and to kind of guide her into the bed. That's when my arm went right through it. And there was nothing there. It was just like, almost like just air. And boy, I shot up and I turned on that light and I thought, what the hell was that? And I could not figure out to this day why that was there. but it really had me thinking. It had me, wondering. And I didn't talk about it for a long time. I kind of kept it to myself. I didn't tell anybody until and I was working a lot, in my field. I didn't really take the time to watch much TV. But this was at the time Ghost Hunters was the very big show. And so I broke down. I started telling my mom about it one day, and she says, there's a TV show of people that do this. They check into that stuff. And I thought, oh, really? Well, so I started watching the show, and I started kind of looking around to see if anybody in Indiana was investigators and if they were doing these types of things. And turned out that there was a group that I had subsequently joined and then got involved that way. So it's almost like the path was set there by whatever this was at my bed at that night. And it's kept me going ever since. And again, we haven't done much over the last couple of years, like I said, but it doesn't mean that we've given up. It's just one of those things we've kind of just tempered down a little bit. Things will be picking back up again for Heartland Hauntings. We will be getting back out there, investigating new places, looking at some other things in a different way, and reviving that Facebook page and getting some stuff up. And it's one thing that I'm definitely looking forward to having done.
Well, when you say that, you go ahead and mention the fact of how tedious it could be of doing all these extra investigations. And then you go ahead and you take a guy like Jason Snyder down in Southern Illinois, and that's that Crawford County Ghost Chasers. And that guy he'll do like 35 investigations in 1 month, 26 investigations, private investigations. And I said, Jason, your eyeballs has got to be rolling around in your head.
That's a lot.
And he does. He's very thorough. He's quite the skeptic. He keeps everything on even plane, runs the show completely. He has a program on Sunday nights, Sunday nights. And he investigated with us a couple times this last year. He was with us when we were out at Brushy Mountain and that with his group. And it's just one of those things where you can see all these other groups. And our point, or my point, for everything we do up north here in Lake Villa and around this area is try to go ahead and keep them separated.
Yeah.
So you can get all the recordings done and you can get everything put down in paper. I've been doing a lot of Estes methods for the last about a year and a half, channeling. And we just had another situation that came up this last public where Nick Sarlo went under first. He went ahead and he put the headphones and the blinders on, and then I went second. And the guy, Patrick, who's in the group, was recording all the words that were being said. He was one of the students from Northern Illinois University that was shot during that shooting out there in DeKalb.
Oh my gosh.
Probably about maybe 8 years ago now, something like that. And he was shot in the head, and all these people died around him. And so now we're back at over the Terminus doing this, and I'm doing the Estes, and he's writing the words down, and words like came up right out of the clear blue, like head, shot, and this and that. And it was like at the very end, he went ahead and asked the question, are you directing all these words to me for what happened to me in Northern Illinois? I didn't answer that, but it really shook him up. And for a moment I thought, you're just the conduit. So, you can't control that.
Right.
That's I felt pretty bad about that. Yeah. But it's that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you do that a lot, you do become pretty good at channeling. I'm still in that state right now where when I started out tonight and this didn't happen right, I
Mhm.
get discombobulated, and then everything gets mixed up and it's not in a set order anymore to me. So that's why things happen like they did tonight. And I apologize for that because normally I keep a straight train of thought, and I've been jumping all over the place tonight with questions, but
Well, if it makes you feel any better though, Greg, um, that happens to me on days that end in Y. So don't feel bad. It's, I know exactly where you're at. You know, it's these things happen, man.
but we still got some time if you want to hang around.
Sure, sure. I'll hang
Got
around for a
any
bit.
Heartland hauntings?
Yes, sir.
What do you got going on in the future with that now?
Well, that's actually I have to get together with my partner and talk about that. You know, see what's going to be happening for next year. Usually, what we've agreed to historically, we've kind of carried forth since we started working as Heartland Hauntings, is that when it comes to the month of October, we would actually kind of lay low. It's almost like a quote unquote amateur hour of the month, if you will, where people are going to be visiting sites, and we didn't want to have anything that, either get in our way or be in anybody else's way or anything like that. So we'll just let October be October, and it's I think it's probably just best that way to do that. And then usually around the holidays too, we would just lay low, spend time with family, and just make that magic happen. But when it comes to the investigation portion of it, that's where we have to really decide on what's going to be happening going forward. Because as we mentioned earlier, that there's places that either are still allowing investigations, have stopped allowing investigations, or maybe just starting. And those are the things that we really want to start tapping into um, is where do we want to go? And I think a lot of places though, and I don't know how you feel about this, Greg, is that I understand why places do charge money, at times for people to come investigate it, because it does help. That money does go back to the location to help the upkeep or to help whatever it is they're trying to do there. So a lot of places out there, a lot of historical locations that need that money, so that way they can keep things going, keep it alive, if you will. But it does kind of get a little costly, and it's so we got to really watch what our budget dollars are saying, and so we have to really kind of pin it down, invest, figure out what's going to be best here going forward, as far as like where do we want to go, and where is it that we want to go that we've been to before versus new places that we should be checking out. And that's really what I would like to do, is because there's so many different locations that are out there that I have not yet been to, that that I would love to go see. I would love, even if it's somewhere like even my own state of Indiana, that I would love to go check out, that I haven't been privileged to be able to do that yet. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It's you never really say goodbye to this field for anything. It's you do it, and if you don't do it for a while, that's fine. But you somehow it's almost like it pulls you back in, and you feel this pull going back into it, that that you're just not going to be able to walk away from it no matter what. So once we know more, everyone will know more, and we'll certainly be sharing a lot of that on our Heartland Hauntings page.
Right. There's a couple more. Linda Morrison is in the building. She's from LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay, hello, Linda.
I met her at the last Ghost Con that Ursula had, and Donna Sharon said hi.
Hello.
So
I have yet to meet these lovely people.
mm,
Well, I know
it's
Dale. But
one of the guys that this whole spring, I had mentioned to you about Hellier
Mhm.
and all that, and they ended up with that a Paracon done on the computer, and it was called Pandemonium Con.
Okay, it sounds
Greg and Dana Newkirk
okay.
did it, and they used the basic people from Hellier, Carl Pfeiffer and Connor Randall, and they put all those people into this Ghost Con Paracon on the internet, and they brought in a whole bunch of speakers, and there were like 8 speakers. And I was mesmerized because out of all the years or all the Paracons that I'd been to, I'd probably seen 2 speakers. I've never, like everybody else, we never get the opportunity to sit down and watch somebody the whole entire time they give their talk.
Yeah.
On whatever their specialty is or whatever. And this was a great opportunity. And out of that, there was a gentleman that came on that I had picked up on about 3 years ago. That was John Tenney.
Okay.
And John Tenney is just an unbelievable gentleman. He's way out there.
I've heard that about him, that he's a great person to work with.
And he comes up with some of the wildest things. And he said, he came out with this when he talked, and he says, be more brave and more kind than you think you can be. And I think that applies to us in the paranormal field as far as our investigating and how we treat everybody else we investigate with.
I agree. I think that we've got too much. I know that a lot of people have tried to really work as a pair of unity and bring those walls down so that way we can have a more established and more firm network of investigators throughout the paranormal field. And we still find today that we have people who are, I guess, just to kind of be very blunt. I mean, they're throwing stones, at one another, and it's never made sense to me to do that. That's why when you brought about the Paracon, what I'd really love to see is a lot more of that, with people actually talking about presenting things as a field of study within certain things. And I think that we need more of that. I think that we need to have those things where these conferences and these conventions are geared towards advancing and bringing the field up more, and really giving that back to the people who are the investigators, and letting them try some of those things and employing some of those things into what they do. We need a lot more of that. And I don't know how soon we can start seeing things like that, but I do think we need more.
Yeah, like I was originally saying, what the Newkirks did to me is they took the Paracon to a different level with the different guests that they brought in for all the different fields, everything from paranormal to cryptics to your witches to UFOs to aliens, and covers everything, and that all was from Hellier. So I mean, there was a reason they did it.
Yeah.
And they had all these resources available to them so they can come out with this fantastic show. I don't think there was anybody that watched that was let down.
And that sounds amazing.
I don't say that very much about very many things, but I did both of them now because I'm a member. I'm a Patreon member
Mm-hmm.
for the Haunted Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult. And that was the basis of how they built. And then when they got into the fact that they couldn't do anything in January, they came up with this idea. So now they put 2 of those together, and they came up with this fantastic system where they actually had tips for the speakers.
Oh, wow.
And the tips were fantastic because everything was reported.
Mm-hmm.
And these people were in their living rooms or in their dens or wherever talking, but they were some amazing people. There was one doctor who dealt with the psychology end of it. And I wish I had the names of them. I don't. I have a list somewhere of these people, but like you said, it covers all the broad field of all the different studies that are involved in what goes on when we even go on a ghost hunt.
Yeah, that's, I really do think we need a lot more of that. I think that we need to also embrace that, as investigators. And I think that we're doing ourselves more of a justice to the field when we do that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot that can be said about that, but I think just to kind of start from a square one perspective of things, that yeah, that's what we need to have more of. And that's one thing that I envisioned with doing with Heartland Hauntings, in that sense, like I mentioned earlier, is that I didn't want to think of us as a team or a group as much as I wanted to look to consider it as like an organization where we can have a systematic development of things. And we've been pretty bad about promoting that. I admit that, but that's what we really need. We really need to have a lot of these things bundled and collected together. And it's not something that we would own. It's something that we give back to the field.
Your Heartland Hauntings page was just shared, so.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I do appreciate that.
And everything else, before we really close, I'll just mention the fact that we've got on Monday nights, the Psychic United group meets at 6:30 on Zoom. Tuesday night, Sharon Moritz has got the Oracle card readings at 6:00. Scotty Rourke is on at 7:00.
Good friend Scotty, yeah.
He's a member of our group now, and then I have Fridays. So
I got you.
All of it, we try to put something together just to get everybody coming around and understanding what's going on. And once again, it's been a pleasure to have you with me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Really, I'm sorry for the beginning, and that's the end of it. We're not going to bring it up again because
it's all good, man.
I'll get goofy, but it's the system, and I'm still barking at it. So
sure.
One of these days I'll grab it by the leg and take a big chunk out of it. But Kelly said she'll just wrap it up.
Okay.
So if you want to hang around for a minute, it's up to you, but we're going to close down and say goodnight. And this is the Shadow Hour, and this is from the Shadow Hunters Paranormal Investigations and Events page. And this is Friday, October 2nd for the other end of it. So, and this is JC Rositas, an awesome guy that's done some awesome work. And I'll just leave it at that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Greg. Thanks for the time.
Okay.